I love the way, thanks to social media, how things play out in real time. The first headline was from Woj's account, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. Woj dropping the bomb, just basically said, Jimmy Butler returns to practice for the Minnesota Timberwolves per source. Okay?
Then you're like, okay, cool, he's back.
And then more news, if you will, trickled out as to how that practice went down, where he shows up mid-practice, apparently, and then inserts himself. This is, again, these sources say, inserts himself into the lineup of the scrimmage, the intra-squad scrimmage that was going down, where it was the starters against the third stringers. And he inserts himself into the lineup with the third stringers and proceeds to, as my longtime friend, may he rest in peace, Stuart Scott would say, beat the brakes off them kids.
Nice.
Okay. And at one point, screams at Scott Layden, the general manager, in a profane way that you need me here.
Blankety blank.
But he's the one who wants out. Okay. Trying to compute all this together. And then he, at one point, when he's guarding in the post Karl Anthony Towns, who is one of the two stars of this team with whom Butler has had reportedly an issue with based on their desire to win. If you remember, last year's playoffs was all about how Karl Anthony Towns was not ready for prime time. He didn't have the dog in him. He wasn't that guy that was going to clap back. He wasn't that guy that was going to raise his hackles. He wasn't that guy that was going to, despite his insane skill set, dominate. Kind of like that 2-ton gorilla who asks if it's okay to sit down. Okay? That's how Chris Berman was once described to me, by the way, back in the day.
Really?
Yes. Nice guy, despite huge, immense status. So here he comes in the post. Jimmy Butler is guarding him, and he barks about how he can't do anything. He's soft, essentially. And according to all reports, Karl Anthony Towns kicked the ball back out of the post. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Oops.
How helpful is that? So Butler says he wants out, but then he says to Scott Layden, you need me here. What's this all about? Well, good thing Rachel Nichols just happened to be in town with the jump.
Man, what a coincidence.
We'll get to that in a second. But first, let's listen to some of the outstanding sound bites she elicited from one James Butler when asking him if all of the reports of what happened in practice was true.
A lot of it's true, but you got to think, I haven't played basketball in so long, and I'm so passionate, and I love the game, and I don't do it for any other reason except for to compete and go up against the best to try to prove that I can hang. So all my emotion came out at one time. Was it the right way to do it? No. But I can't control that when I'm out there competing. Like, that's my love of the game. That's raw me. Me at my finest, me at my purest. That's what you're going to get.
That's his raw him. We've heard Kobe have that raw him in him. A few more rings than Jimmy, but
5.
This is what he had to say when Rachel brought up the fact that he's at practice. That means that maybe that would indicate that he's trying to inject himself back into the team, that he wants to leave, that could be viewed as a positive despite the way he dominated that practice. And also, just for a guy in Karl Anthony Towns who reportedly needs to have, and that's why Thibodeau is brought in to toughen up this team, playoff toughness that is required to go deep into May, if not June, if you are lucky. Here is what Butler had to say about whether this thing is fixable.
So you were back in practice today. I assume you're going back tomorrow.
I am.
Should people think because you are back in practice that this is fixed or it's on its way to being fixed?
I think people think that. I would think that too.
What do you think?
It's not. It's not fixed. Let's just be honest. It's not fixed.
Is it fixable?
It could be. It could be. But do I think so? No. Because you got to be honest. I'm being honest. Do I think so? No. I'm being honest with you. But is everybody going to be honest? No.
I think if I can interpret this, because he's not allowed, as Rachel pointed out in the interview, to demand a trade publicly into a microphone. That is against the collective bargaining rules and a heavy finable offense.
Right.
If I can try and decipher all of this, is it fixable? Yeah, if Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns find their inner beast or care as much as Jimmy Butler cares about winning, I think that's what he is flat out implying, if not flat out saying, because he says it's not about money, it's about winning, and that he can't get enough of winning to the point where he loses his mind in practice. Now to that, being honest here, Rachel Nichols on her Twitter account, because I follow her, she tweeted out that, I want to get this exactly correct here. She tweeted out that flew out to Minnesota to talk to Jimmy Butler about how he got to the Timberwolves. Let me get this right here. Hold on a second. Got the call last night. This is what she tweeted out. Got the call last night that Jimmy Butler was ready to talk. Jumped on a plane this morning, and wow, turns out he certainly was.
Got the call.
Hold on a second. So I'm sure she and the Jump have been all over Jimmy Butler. I wanted to sit down one-on-one. He finally tells her, I'm ready. She hops on a plane from here in Los Angeles to Minnesota, and then he shows up to practice for the first time the next day and just happens to wreck it in a manner that leaks out pretty damn fast.
Pretty fast.
This sounds completely orchestrated for maximum effect. And by the way, kudos to Jimmy Butler.
It worked.
All right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call up ESPN and their, which she is, lead basketball face for certainly one-on-one interviews and commentary. Let's get her here to Minnesota, sit down and I don't know what that was. Was that like his rec room in his house or something? There was like a pool table. There were like bowling balls on a wall. I don't know what it was.
It's really weird.
Okay. Sit down. But before that, I'm going to show up in practice and wreck it. I'm going to bark at the coach. I'm going to bark at the general manager. I'm going to embarrass. I am going to figuratively undress the favorite player of the owner, who has apparently said he wants me out of here, and I want out of here because I don't think Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns have the it factor that I need, certainly when I'm looking at what's going on in Houston, who, by the way, when Rachel Nichols brought it up in the interview, he interrupted her to talk about what a great team they had. Did you see that one? Yeah, they got a good team there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, they do. They do. He'd look pretty damn good in red to build a super team. And you know, we had Daryl Morey on the show a couple weeks ago.
He's been trying.
He basically said that, even though he's not allowed to say it. He joked about it. So what's his end game here? Right? He wants out. He definitely wants out.
Yeah, he definitely wants
There's
out.
no question. You don't call ESPN and then wreck the practice in that manner. And then you could basically say, I didn't mean, look, just me. That's my inner dog coming out. But I love the Rockets. And I see what's going on in this locker room. And we have no shot against the Warriors, let alone maybe the Lakers. Let alone maybe the Lakers. And you know who needs somebody like me if it's not a team that can win a championship right now? Clippers. Clippers could use me. It's a players' league. Forcing your way out is what he is trying to do.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.